Alors, je voudrais demander à Lars Andersson, qui est un des acteurs de l'initiative suédoise de 1986, où a été créé Kommuninvest, de nous expliquer précisément tout l'intérêt qu'il peut y avoir pour des plus petites communes de se regrouper et d'essayer de pouvoir intervenir auprès des investisseurs pour pouvoir bénéficier de meilleurs taux, de meilleures garanties, de meilleurs moyens financiers, s'il vous plaît.
Ladies and gentlemen, although I'm at the board of Agence France Locale, I think my English is better than my French, so I will continue in English. I will speak about how local governments could work together, and not only small, but small and large local government regions could work together to achieve better access to capital markets. But speaking about local government funding agencies, you must start to speak about local government and growth. Local governments, they are responsible in the OECD area for more than 2/3 of all public investments, and of course are crucial for growth of these countries. If we look at Europe, and only local government, taking away the regional government, they're responsible for under 60% of all investment, with Italy and France. France over 70% of all public investments. Sweden a bit over 50, but all are over 50%. So they're really important for the growth of the countries. That is why it's really worrying to see that during the last few years, investments of local government have fallen by some 15% in Europe. So there are some obvious reasons to that, and let's look at the financing possibilities of local government for financing infrastructure investments. Of course, central government grants have decreased in many countries in the austerity measures taken by the countries. So that is one reason why we have seen less of local government investment lately. Bank loans. If we look, there are plenty of countries that are really reliant on banks. I mean, the local authorities are relying on banks for financing their local government investments. Now, with the new Basel regulations, the banks have already adjusted to that, and that has meant higher demands for capital for the banks, and the local authorities have seen shorter maturities and higher margins from banks. So I don't think that we can count on banks in the future to be the main lender to local authorities. Bond issues, could that be a solution? Well, it can, but you know, it's only the very big local authorities that can issue bonds in the market. They need to have sufficient demand to be able to be frequently in the market, and even the big local governments are unable to have a diversification of their borrowing in the capital markets. It's been suggested that PPP might be a solution to that, and I don't really have the time, since they already are worried that my intervention would be too long to dwell on that, but I can say that a cartoon published in The Guardian pretty much summarized my views on PPP. If there's somebody who wants to discuss this further afterwards, I'd be happy to do so. So, why don't we try a local government funding agency or a municipal bond agency? That, I think, could be the road forward for local government. And we have seen a development, as Mr. Lesource said earlier, in the Nordic countries, where we have local government funding agencies in all the Nordic countries and also in the Netherlands. As has been said, the oldest one, or the Danish Kommunikredit, 1898, was that founded. I was initiating the formation of the Swedish agency Kommuninvest in 1986. And the latest addition to this club is Agence France Locale, that was created last year in October. All of these agencies have a AAA rating, except for Agence France Locale that haven't got a rating still, but I would be really surprised if there were anything but the best rating possible for Agence France Locale. These agencies, they borrow in the capital markets. And 2012, they issued long-term debt for 72 billion euros together. So you see that these are really important players in the capital markets. I would want to go into Kommuninvest, just to give you some comments. I will go more into details tomorrow afternoon when we have a workshop on local government funding agencies. But the setup of the Swedish local government funding agency is we have so-called, you can say, mother company, the cooperative society, and a daughter company where all the financial activities takes place. And this is done in order to separate the political level from the professional level. The cooperative society, they deal with admitting local governments into the agency, to supervise local government, and of course to establish the overall strategy for the agency. While the daughter company has a board with professionals and they carry out all the financial activities in that. In Sweden, over 90% of the local authorities have voluntarily joined Kommuninvest. Kommuninvest issue bonds in almost all capital markets. It operates in open competition with all other financial institutions, and it has totally changed the market for loans to local authorities and substantially lowered the margins for local authorities. And also, Kommuninvest has gone, as the other agencies, has gone unharmed through the crisis. Why is that? We come back to the question of diversification. Of course, one of the reasons why they come through the crisis unharmed is, of course, a AAA rating, but also the fact that an agency could diversify to different markets, to different instruments, to different investors, and then with one market not doing as well as the others, you can just turn to the market that works well. So this is one of the reasons why actually Kommuninvest had to save some Swedish banks in the crisis by taking over loans to local authorities. Agencies create a virtuous circle. The agencies are dependent on the creditworthiness of the local authorities to define their own creditworthiness. And this, in its turn, points out the perception by the market, by the rating agencies, by the investors, and it leads to cost-efficient financing. But in order for this virtuous circle to work, we must have monitoring of the local governments, of the members, of their creditworthiness, in order for them to maintain their creditworthiness, in order for the agency to maintain its creditworthiness, in order for the circle to work. And this is what happens in Kommuninvest as well as it will happen in Agence France Locale. Speaking of Agence France Locale, that was created in October last year. We're now in the process of setting up the agency, recruiting staff, talking with the rating agencies. There is one feature, among a couple of others, that we've actually took from Kommuninvest, and that is to separate the political level from the professional level, with a mother company and a daughter company, in order to secure that the financial operation is managed by people who knows the markets and who also knows the local governments. And we expect to have our first bond issue later this year, But although the financial activities hasn't started yet, we already have members from all over France. There are 51 members now. All of the major cities are members in the Agence France Locale, as well as one region, Région Île-de-Loire, Pays de Loire, and some départements. And we have members from the very small, like the Commune de Roquefort, to the very big, like the Métropole de Lyon. So this has been a really great interest in Agence France Locale, and I expect that the flow of members will continue. I will skip that, and no, go back. I'm also an advisor to the UK Local Government Association to form an agency in England. England and Wales are the ones that are the first to have a look at this, and I, with the two other advisors, submitted a report in March this year with a proposal to form an agency where we think they can have substantial cuts in the margins to local government, but also to diversify the funding. We have a timeline which would be a launch later this year or early next year, and the first bond issue during next year. And we hope that this timeline will be kept during the rest of the preparations. There is also discussions in Germany about local government funding agency, and to me it was a bit surprising to see that Deutsche Bank was the one that initiated this discussion in Germany, writing a report, Einer für alle, alle für einen, one for all for one, and they have proposed to form an agency in Germany. It hasn't gained really much momentum still, but I expect that this discussion will continue also in Germany. Looking out over the world, you can find agencies or organizations like agencies in many parts of the world. In Canada, you have the Municipal Finance Authority of British Columbia, you have the Alberta Finance Authority. In the US, you have a number of bond banks, for example, in Maine, in New Hampshire, and Florida. And in Japan, the JFM, it used to be a state entity, but it was transferred to the local authorities, I think, 5 or 6 years ago. So now it's totally owned by local authorities. And the latest addition worldwide, if you look at this, is the Local Government Funding Agency of New Zealand. That was formed in 2011 and has started their operations. I know that there are plenty of discussions in quite a few other countries about forming agencies like this, and I think it's a really positive development and a really development that I really welcome very much. You can read about these things on my company's website, but I would also like to say that tomorrow afternoon at 2:15 we'll have a workshop with on the question of local government funding agencies. We'll have the chairman of the English Local Government Association there, the head of the European Association for Public Banks. We have the president of the Agence France Locale and Ernst & Young there, and I hope to see many of you there. Thank you for your attention.